So use a pan. Now see how the flame is coming up here?
Welcome to a space where healthy food not only makes you feel good, it warms your heart and soul with love. Learn how to turn local organic produce into mouth-watering meals that nourish your body and soul. This is the art of cooking from the heart.
This is a Maitake mushroom. Of the three, it's my favorite one to work with. All three of the recipes are amazing, but this one's really fun and very versatile. And the things that we can do with Maitake, you can do it with a lot of other mushrooms. You could do it with the lion's mane, you could do it with portobellos, you could do it with the oysters as well. So this cooking, this preparation that we're doing here isn't just for this mushroom. You could do it with a lot of them. And then we're going to do a sauce too, a barbecue sauce, but you can do many other types of sauces as well. So with these, what you want to do is kind of really examine and see what you've got. Like I said earlier, most Maitake has got petals on it more similar to the oyster mushroom. This has got petals, but they kind of grow together almost like they were in an accident and got fused or something like that. But it grows like this, and it actually lends itself better to what we're doing today, which is to make a steak. But you still want to look at it, find out where the mycelium is and how it's branching out from there to decide how you're going to cut it. So what I'm going to do is, this is the root of the mycelium here, so I'm going to cut it this way. I'm going to cut this one this way. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get them all about the same height, but I also want some of the root mycelium with it so that it holds it together. It's like the stem, but it's perfectly edible. It's a little chewier. Like you all had some stem with your buffalo chickens, and you could tell there was a difference, but it wasn't a huge difference, and it was still very edible. But there's the chewy part. That's what we're talking about here, and so it kind of holds it together. So in other words, if I were just to cut these petals off, it's likely when I'm through with how I'm going to prepare it, it might break apart. And I'm looking for like a steak here is what I'm going for. So I got 3 of them. And so here, as you can see, this piece is probably going to break off anyway, but I'm going to keep it with the mycelium and at least give it a fighting chance. So that's going to lay in the pan like this, and it's about the same height as these, and so I think it's going to work. It's going to be delicious no matter what. Does that make sense? Even these little pieces are going to be fabulous and delicious. I see a lot of people online, they're talking about making ribs out of these, which you can do. They kind of lend itself to that. I don't like to call them ribs, but I'm going to see if we can do this. I think this will work. See how we got the mycelium coming all the way through here now? Does that make sense? So these are definitely going to hold together. So let's do this. We're going to press the water out of these the way we did with the portobello, but because the portobello is only this big and these are much bigger, it's going to take several pressings for this to work. So I'm going to start with that process right now. There's already a little bit of oil in the pan. I'm going to add a little bit more. I'm going to wait and let this get hot. You can put something like this in the oil, and then when it starts to jump around, you know that your oil's ready.
Are you want like a medium hot or pretty high up?
I want to put as much direct flame on this as I can, but I don't want to be here where it's coming off the sides of the pan. So because it's a relatively small pan, I'm just going to be right here. And temperature-wise, you want this to be like 350 to 400. We're going to cook at 400 as well. See the little pieces moving around there? We're ready. So I'm going to do this one first. These are both the 2 highest ones, so I'm going to start with those. I'm just going to let that sit for a few minutes. What we're going to do eventually is, once that starts to get a little crispy, is press it in. And when it gets hot is when it's easier for the waters to release. When you try to release the waters now, nothing will come out. Like if I were to squeeze this right now with my hands, nothing would come out. But when it gets really hot, that's when the waters explode out of it. That's what you want. With these miyatakes, you want to get that bottom charred pretty well. And if I were to squeeze a Maitake mushroom really hard, you can see there's a couple of drops coming out, but not that much. But when it gets hot, it explodes out. And so what we want to do is get it really hot, and then we're going to press it down, and you'll see like a torrent, a flood of water coming out of them. Mushrooms are mostly water. All mushrooms are, like 80% or so, like us. And so that's what we're waiting for now. Now, when I press it down, you'll see it's in a cast iron skillet, and I'm going to use another cast iron skillet on top of it and press it down. You can use a dry towel to press it down, but I like using something like this. It's more protective, and as I'm pressing the water, it turns to steam and it gets really hot. And so if it goes up your arm one time and you burn your arm, then you'll say, oh, I remember why David told me to put that pad on. He really knew what he was talking about. So it took me 49 years to figure this out. So you don't have to use this. I do it oftentimes with just a towel. It works fine, but this is the safer way to go. And you're pressing on a pan, so you can't use your bare hand, and you don't want to like use a fork or something like that. You want to really be able to put a lot of weight on it. So I think it's ready now. So maybe 3 or 4 of you can come back now, and we'll do it the first shot. And we're going to flip these over like 4 or 5 times. Each mushroom is different. I don't know how long it's going to be. It's a minimum of 4 though. Sometimes it's 6 or 7. So if a few of you want to come back here, we can start. So, ready? Just kidding. Just kidding. So use a pan. Now see how the flame is coming up here? Now obviously the steam is all water evaporating, so there's a lot of water coming out of here. I'll show you. Now, when we started, these were way over the top of the pan, right, Austin? They were like way up here. They're holding together nicely, and they're really solid. Now, I probably went an extra minute on that, but it's not going to be a problem.
You looking for a good shot?
Yeah. In meat cooking, they have a way you can order your steak called charred rare, and that's burnt on the outside, but it's rare on the inside. That's kind of what you go for here. Now, when we started out, these mushrooms were about an inch or 2 over the top of the edge of the pan. We've already pressed down quite a bit, and pretty much every time you turn it, you want to add a little bit of oil. Oh, they're already nice. Really nice. Now, interestingly, we're not getting much steam out of this. There we go. If there's no more steam, that means it's out of water. I'm just going to press one more time. You'll see when you press, if you get very little or no water out of it, then it's done. In other words, all the water is gone. So when I was pressing first time, remember all the steam that was coming out of it? And now there's only a little bit of steam. Only a little bit here. So there's still some, but not a lot. This is a barbecue sauce. It's a sweet barbecue sauce. We've done these as a special where we do like more Asian barbecue. I'm going to pop this in the oven now for 10 minutes. Any sauce that you put on this would be fabulous if it was, like I said before, if it was Italian or Brazilian or Ethiopian, it doesn't matter. But you want to kind of coat it fully like this and just stick it in the oven for 10. By the way, if somebody doesn't like this, my feelings won't be hurt. Not everybody likes everything we do. It is very different here. But the point is, mushrooms are an amazing meat substitute on many levels. One of the things we do with our veggie burgers here is we take a whole case, 10 pounds of crimini mushrooms, and we put them in the Robocoop, and so it becomes like a paste, and we stick it on a sheet pan and cook it. And again, all the water will cook off. So a huge sheet pan filled will end up being only like 1/3 of a sheet pan. I've got this kind of meal, and it smells like beef. And so that goes into our burger mix, and it's really what makes our burgers taste beefy. So you don't have to like use that stuff that they use that is patented, that what is it, like hemoglobin stuff. You don't have to do that. Mushrooms have already done it for us. I made an etouffee on Fat Tuesday for Mardi Gras, and I had lobster mushrooms from last August, and it was a fabulous season because remember last summer we got so much rain, and again you have to go up into Flagstaff. They're not around here, but halfway between Sedona and Flagstaff, the fields are filled with lobster mushrooms, and I could have had a ton of them this year. And so I froze some because I knew I would want to use them for special occasions. And so the etouffee had oyster mushrooms in it, and then also these beautiful chunks of lobster mushroom. And people really couldn't tell if it was really seafood or not. One of the things that we also do with the seafood broth, a couple of shows ago, we made a clam chowder here. And we started with potato soup, and it became clam chowder when we added just one sheet of nori, the same wrap that we use for sushi. And so we take the potato soup, put it in a blender with a piece of nori and blend it so it's completely homogenized, and then pour it back into the soup and stir that up, and now your soup tastes like a seafood chowder. And so we added oyster mushrooms to that, I think, right? And then we made clam chowder out of that potato soup. So it's the same thing with the etouffee. We do the roux the way they would do in New Orleans with onion and garlic and pepper, and the roux was perfect, nicely cooked, and then the seasonings, the spices went in there, and then the seafood along with the nori, just like we talked about for the potato soup, and it was fabulous. It was a really, really fabulous dish. Maitake, great for the heart, immune booster. There are a couple more. It's got some special chemicals in it that are this long. I don't remember what they are, but look them up. And if you want to know about mushrooms or you want mushroom supplements, I think Paul Stamach has got the best products. It's unbelievable how high quality his stuff is. And if you watched his video, he's got a documentary. Like I cried most of the way through it. You know, he got into this he's been into it for a long time. And then part of his story is that some researchers, some scientists and doctors were researching this strain of mushroom, and somehow through Google or whatever, they found out that he was one of the people that was working with it. And so they started working with his product, and then they offered what they found as an experiment. So they were looking for people to try this experimental cancer drug. Can't even tell you the story. Be back. So fast forward a couple of months, his mother's talking to him and visiting and says, "This is an amazing thing. They've got this experimental drug I'm on, and it's working. My cancer's healed her cancer." And it was his mushroom. My vision, my dream is everyone making healthy vegan food around the world so I can retire. So it starts with you all. Thank you very much. See, anything you would do with a filet mignon, you could do with this. We could do some vegan blue cheese and melt it over the top. We could do another portobello mushroom sauce like we talked about with the crepe. We do all kinds of fun stuff. With that lobster mushroom, I made a lobster mushroom hash that I served with a mushroom steak. So it was really kind of a nice mushroomy dish. It was a steak like this with lobster mushrooms and corn and some beans and some onion and garlic. It's really nice. One of the things that my daughter and I did in the beginning is we went out to a lot of different gardeners and growers to look at what they were doing out there, to really see what was happening with the food that we were going to buy from them and then prepare and serve to you all. And I feel really comfortable saying, this is organic. I guarantee you, I was out in that farmer's field. He's been there for 4 generations. He's doing the right things the right way. And this is certifiable organic. One of the issues with our restaurant and the local farmers is there's so many of them doing a fabulous job that the season's very short. And so in my restaurant here, for instance, if I had the kind of restaurant that would change its recipes and change its menu every week with all the freshest ingredients locally, I could use the local people. But because I have things on my menu that are just our tried and true regular dishes, I need to have consistency and constancy, which I couldn't get here. The other thing is, I'm not complaining about this. I'm actually happy for the farmers here. They do so well at the farmers market at what they charge the consumer that they actually don't like to sell wholesale to me. In other words, if they could get $22 for lion's mane, why would they sell it to me for $11? Does that make sense? Because they go to the farmer's market and they sell out. And so finding a wholesaler that will actually sell wholesale is difficult to do. And so that's my story. But there are many local growers who do a fabulous job. Blue Sky is one of them. True Green is one of them. There's a lot of growers here that do phenomenal work. And I love what they're doing. And I love that you're all supporting them. We need those farmers. We really do. Thank you all. Appreciate you. Appreciate you all. Thank you.